NASA scientists are saying, quote, a solar minimum is coming. Now, this report details that during a solar minimum, solar flares and sunspots will subside. It is during this time that you will see the development of long-lived coronal holes, which are vast regions of the sun's atmosphere where the sun's magnetic field opens up and allows streams of solar particles to escape the sun as fast solar winds. October 13th, 2016, Barack Obama issued an executive order to prepare for extreme space weather events, those that could significantly degrade our infrastructure, resulting in cascading failures that would affect key services such as your water supply, your healthcare, and your transportation. Space weather has the potential to simultaneously affect and disrupt health and safety across entire continents.
They're only talking about the 11-year cycle, and they left out a lot of facts, so let's fill it in for you here. They talk about the sunspot count with relatively high numbers for this solar cycle. Well, in reality, it's the lowest in the last 100 years. They also talk about geomagnetic storms and auroras, yet they didn't tell you we've had the most intense auroras ever observed, except for the Carrington event 140 years ago.
It was recently discovered that the most powerful cosmic rays actually come from outside the Milky Way. We are exiting a local magnetic dust cloud, cocooning the system from the outside and into a void, the local bubble created by numerous ancient supernovae, leaving us more open to the energetic events of the galaxy and greater universe. As we exit the magnetic cloud, another magnetic shield, that of our sun, is dropping and expected to continue dropping in strength, allowing for record cosmic rays at the Earth system. The most local events of concern would be massive solar eruptions, which we know are less common but still present in times of low activity. The only thing standing in the way of solar superstorms is our local magnetic field, and inductive explosions can cripple global power grids in a major event. Imagine no food at the store, no water from the tap, no heat or air conditioning or phone or ATM withdrawals or gas station pumps or way to call for help as the destruction and waiting we've set up across the world begins to do what they've warned us they could do when they lose power. But wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Before we can even think in terms like this, shouldn't we see some changes of the energetic nature on other planets? I mean, maybe if we saw record-breaking storms on Neptune at latitudes we've never seen before, or if we saw record-breaking storms on Uranus, something to say we're juicing up, or that 30-year clockwork storm on Saturn, arriving a decade early, like it did in 2010. Okay, well, what about the clouds and storms on Jupiter? Surely we'd be seeing some kind of changes there as well. Mars doesn't do storms like Earth, but maybe if they were undergoing some kind of climate change. And what about Venus? Maybe if their fast winds were speeding up and getting faster or something like that. If this thing is starting to be a concern, we'll certainly see it on the other planets first. Well, since we mentioned storms, the ties-in of academia of late are bringing solar forcing of hurricanes and typhoons out of the darkness, with numerous publications peer-reviewed in the last decade. It was recently discovered that cosmic rays increase the viscosity of silica-rich magma, which calls home many dangerous mountains on this planet. More energy of that sort should increase the activity of many of the world's volcanoes. Similar energetic interactions with the metal, water, and olivine in the mantle can trigger some of the world's worst and deadliest earthquakes and tsunamis. The specific solar triggering was discovered by Dr. Wu Yan and our community, and then confirmed by a statistics professor from Ohio State. And as our shield, the only thing standing between us and the sun, goes down, the earthquakes will be on the up as well. The cosmic rays coming from beyond the sun have been shown to juice up clouds, trigger hail nucleation, ionize and create lightning conditions, and contribute to the overall energy level of the atmosphere, and again, they penetrate through the crust. The answer to what our future holds as three shields fall at the same time is more electrical energy. The lack of density around the system dictates that more energy will be focused on the spheres that remain, and the weather, earthquakes, and volcanoes may soon resemble something out of an ancient story, like Ragnarok. There is also a growing amount of evidence regarding the biological danger of space radiation, even with a healthy magnetic shield. The direct effect and resulting magnetic fluctuation frequencies and electric currents induced have been shown to have significant effects on the cardiac system and on human psychology. One could argue that this is how rapid evolution occurs, but even if that's the case, the transition seems tumultuous at best, with one of the most benign periods of Earth's history potentially now on borrowed time. Now, the sun has been very strong recently, stronger than it has been in about 11,000 years. This has provided a large amount of protection for the last century or so, but all evidence suggests that it is about to drop out hard in the coming decades, with a lackluster return over the coming centuries that is almost certain to miss the mark set by the recent multi-millennium maximum. And the cosmic ray forecast based on that drop in solar activity alone presents uncharted territory in modern science. So to review, we are right now coming out of the grand solar maximum since the end of the glacial period. We are about to see a tremendous drop into grand solar minimum, followed by a very slow magnetic recovery that won't likely reach those same maximum levels for thousands of years.
But what's this all mean for you and me? Well, we're not going to be able to grow crops as we do today because the seasons are going to be so unstable and the timing of planting is going to be affected as well as harvesting. And if you never heard of a grand solar minimum before, they occur on 200 or 400 year cycles depending on the intensity. And we're descending into another one right now. This is the reason you're seeing all these unusual weather patterns and changes across the planet. The increases really began around February 2015, and then it added 11% just over that year and a half. And you've seen the weather severity increase along with the galactic cosmic rays. Now on top of this, we're going to add another 19%. And it's already starting to show in areas such as New England in the northeast United States. So the lower the solar activity is, the more galactic cosmic rays come in. And the forecast is just up and up and up on this. It's probably going to exceed the forecast due to the grand solar minimum. Now the NASA article also talks about Earth's upper atmosphere cools and then compresses because there's no solar wind except from coronal hole streams. A graphic here. Low Earth orbit, it's kind of expanded, and then when the solar minimum comes in, it compresses. But we're going into a grand solar minimum, which means that thing is going to be non-existent.
So during these minimums, like the Maunder minimum, the Dalton minimum, the Glassberg minimum, and now the modern minimum, which is the Eddy minimum, galactic cosmic rays begin to increase as we enter them.
The influence of galactic cosmic rays inducing more cloud cover on the planet is well known with the relationship. Through the last 2,000 years across Asia, those high points are grand solar minimums with more cloud cover. We see the same thing across South America. Over the last year and a half, galactic cosmic rays increased 12.5%, and this next solar cycle 25 is expected to increase 19% more on top of that. And the inverse relationship is very apparent on the amount of galactic cosmic rays penetrating our atmosphere with the strength of the solar cycle. So we should look for signs. If it's increasing the amount of cloud cover on our planet, we should see lots more rain, record rains, rains in mysterious and unusual places, record snowstorms across the Sahara, record floods in Saudi Arabia. Look, a super bloom of flowers, even Death Valley blooming. Prehistoric shrimp re-emerging from the ground. The higher the solar activity, the less tropical cloud cover there is. Now we're going into the opposite. There's going to be an enormous amount of tropical cloud cover, so you're going to watch the temperature of this planet start to drop off. Record floods across Uluru. They received a month and a half of rain in literally 8 hours. So much rain, they had to go back into the historical records and look back into literally the Ming Dynasty and the Yuan Dynasty.
I was at a meeting today with a retired Army colonel, and I was there to get information that he got from a family member of his that works for the Federal Emergency Management Agency. They are very concerned at this point in time about losing critical infrastructure, certain parts, as far as water, unpredictable and unusual weather patterns. These were independent scientists, as far as also state, local, everything. And, seismologists, geologists, they had all these people at this meeting. And they were briefing them after this large earthquake over in Ecuador and the other ones in Japan. Just the unusual weather patterns that we're seeing. They're causing what they're calling a major strain on the fault lines. So that's what's happening with a lot of your earthquake swarms that are occurring right now. They're preparing on a large scale for major separation of landmass. And like the evacuations and migrations of people that are going to come with all that. What they're saying is large earthquake swarms are going to become the new normal where we'd normally have swarms of 2.5s, 3.0s, this, that, and the other in a certain area, it may uptick to 6.5s, 7.5s, and that could trigger a megaquake. These people are so confused right now, and they're reporting things that they don't even understand. They're reporting large changes, like changes that are happening so fast. See, in a geology sense and in seismology, things happen over a great period of time. And that's where they're very, very concerned at this point in time, because all these changes are happening very rapidly. 38 volcanoes that are active and erupting at this time. Okay, everyone, I want to show you real quick where they're positioning their resources in strategic locations for what they're considering relief efforts. Okay. So these 3 locations right here we're looking at, coming through Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, down through Kentucky and Tennessee, and then over here, Montana, Idaho, across through Wyoming. This is where, and then right here from South Dakota, right down here just to by the tip of Kansas area, and they stop. This is where they are basically setting up all their strategic resources, what they call it, because they want stuff to be in the areas so relief efforts are faster. Sure that you have preparations for, at the very least, months of being off grid.
Good morning, folks. This is Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project on Tuesday, November 7th at 11:10 a.m. Mountain Time, 2017. We can see that the northern coronal hole has arrived, and we've been monitoring New Madrid. Here are the New Madrid quakes, and there's 2 Appalachian quakes. And there have been 15 quakes in the New Madrid area over the last 7 days. 3 weeks ago, we had 7 quakes in a week. 2 weeks ago, we had 9 quakes in a week, and now we're at 14. There's over 7 in this one area. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in this area in the tight New Madrid zone, fault zone. So we come to see historic quakes. These are all the historical quakes, the red dots. What you're looking at here on the right are all the larger quakes, 2.5 or greater. And you can see how they form kind of 2 lines here and here, which is representing the cross-section of that rift zone.
And the weather, earthquakes, and volcanoes may soon resemble something out of an ancient story, like Ragnarok.
Tell me, what is Ragnarok? Let's show this ignorant Christian what Ragnarok is.
The twilight of the gods will happen like this. There will be 3 years of terrible winters and summers of black sunlight. People will lose all hope and surrender to greed, incest, and civil war. Midgard's Sormen, the world's serpent, will come lunging from the ocean, dragging the tides in and flooding the world. The wolf, giant Fenrir, will break his invisible chains. The skies will open, and Soot, the fire giant, will come flaming across the bridge to destroy the gods. Odin will ride out of the gates of Valhalla to do battle for a last time against the wolf. Thor will kill the serpent, but die from its venom. Surt will spread fire across the earth. At last, Fenrir will swallow the sun.